What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. How's it going, YouTube? How's it going, Dueling Book? It is Vengeful Shadows here, and it has been quite some time since we've actually done a video due to a little bit of sickness as well as some holidays going on. We had to take a step back, give a little bit time for the chest and voice to rest, but we are back, and today we're actually going to be doing a market watch as well as kind of a hype for some of the meta buyouts that we've been seeing in the marketplace. So if you've been following the channel at all in any of the recent months, okay, and you've been seeing some of the prices we've been talking about in some of the market watch to be picking up some cards before they go up in price, well, now we're going to be going over the ones that have gone up in price, and some of these we've actually been talking about all the way back in June of this year. Okay, so if you've been watching, you've been investing with us, or kind of trading into some cards, then I think you're pretty happy with some of the cards you've been picking up. And for everyone that is watching and hasn't subscribed yet, that is 98.6% of you. Please hit that subscribe button. We are trying to get the numbers up, get monetized, so we can actually bring even better and higher content to everyone out there. All right. Without further ado, let's go into this little bit of a market watch and kind of give you a heads up on what's going on with the meta right now. And as we see, it is Scareclaw, okay? And again, back in June, we were talking about Scareclaw. I think Reicherts and Primitives were actually less than $1 at the time, so it's been quite some time, all right? But if you've been keeping up with any of the OCG releases or any of the news coming out of OCG or some of the cards coming out, you know that Vsauce Starfrost, his lore is exploding. They're getting some synchros, and they're getting a nice fusion that allows you to fuse, I believe it's just right out of the grave if you have the Vsauce and one of the monsters with 2100 defense. So any of the heart cards, so Reichart, any of the Kashtira ones like Rise Heart, you can basically fuse them out of the graveyard and have extra support. So that is increased the price on all the heart cards, especially Reichart, okay? And again, Reichart, whenever we first started talking about this card, it was under $2 a piece, okay? So we are seeing insane gains right now across the board on all the Reicharts, okay? You got this guy for $2 over here. I'm not even sure if he's actually online to sell it. Sometimes it will actually not let you buy from certain sellers because they're not online, so that's that. Other than that, we're looking at least $8 per Reichart, okay? And that is really good considering, again, when it was first out, it was below $1 even. Wow, that's really good if you got in on there. But yeah, if it was below $2 and you picked them up, you're very happy right now. And again, this card will be seeing probably a decent amount of play going into the future, because if you can splash some of the Scareclaw tech in a bunch of builds, because they're kind of like one monster starters with the Lightheart link, so you can go into the primitive planet, search either the Vsauce or the Reichart itself, summon it, and then that will search yourself an arrival, which replaces your monster. And then if you have 3 or more in defense mode, you draw that card. So it's basically a $2 monster Sky Striker engage that puts a monster on the board. So there, I don't know, that was definitely going to be good things coming down the pipeline. Aside from the Reichart itself, we have the Reekphobia, and that is the field spell for the Scareclaw archetype. And again, at the very beginning, when we were talking about this back, I believe in June or even earlier, like it shows here, these were, again, $1 below $2, okay? And we've seen spikes and drops as it's gone, but there was a nice time before that these were below $2 a piece. And much like our level 4 friend, these have been sitting about $7 to $8 a piece as well. And I don't think that is very surprising, again, given that we're getting all this support, and if they leak any more support on top of it, we're going to be seeing these prices either solidify or just go up like a little bit more on top of that, okay? So if you picked up your planets at, again, below $2, you're very happy. That brings us to the spell card Scareclaw Arrival. Now, this is the not once per turn reborn card of the Scareclaw archetypes, so it's not once per turn. You can basically just revive as many, like if you have multiple copies of it, you can revive multiple Scareclaw monsters from your graveyard. And when we were talking about this at the very beginning, it was cheap. I mean, it says like 18-23 cents, so it's below $0.25 a piece. And right now we are seeing arrivals hit about $2. Yeah, a $2 mark for some, that might not be a lot, but the margin is there, especially if you picked up a few copies for yourself, a few copies for your friends, make sure everyone has some. And I'm pretty sure they're real happy you got some for them right now. All right. After that, that does bring us to the star of the show, which is Vsauce Starfrost. Whatever, I'm saying his name wrong. I'm so sad, but I'm just going to keep going. All right. So Mr. Starfrost has been all over the board since its release, honestly. And the time we were bringing it up, I think they were actually sitting about $6-7. And then I believe before I shot that first video in June, they went up to about 12s. And then they've actually kind of been going up and down kind of since then. Every time new support comes out, you see it increase in price. And then it kind of dips for a bit. Then new support comes out, it'll increase in price. So you'll kind of see that wave effect there on that timeline. Very important to see that. All right, now they are looking really nice right now. Okay, they're about $19 to $20, and that's for the secrets. And keep in mind, there is an ultra rare special edition Vsauce out right now, and they're sitting at about 22s. I think when we were discussing them, they did dip down to, yeah, it was about $14 a piece. So it's a few dollars gain on that. But Mr. Starfrost is seeing a lot of increase in price. And honestly, I'm not too sure it's 100% done, because as we know, he's just going to be getting more support in the future. And we are very, very, very excited to see what comes down the pipeline, okay? Next to that, in the Scareclaw lineup as well, we do have Tryhard. When we were looking at him back in June, I think he was about $3. Right, let's go and look. So it says, yeah, about $3.64 back here. There's a nice little time. They're about $3-4, and they shot up, and we kind of see the little bit trend again where it'll go up about like $8-9 and then drop back down. But right now we are seeing them solidly sit at about $10 to $12 a piece for our Tryhards. So if you were grabbing those about $3 or $4 every time they went down, you're probably pretty happy with yourself, and you should be, because it is a nice card. And I think going into the future, especially when all the support comes out, we're going to be seeing decks be able to go into a Tryhard and be able to kind of lock down the opponent, as well as has some nice little boss monsters coming up after their words, or a good follow-up turn, okay? So guys, that is Tryhard. Last on this particular list, and we're going to go over another one after this, is one of my favorites, and that is Lightforce Sword. And we did a video about Lightforce Sword a couple months ago, whenever the Kashtiras were kind of being announced, because Lightforce Sword can actually combo with the Shangri-La as well as the new Kashtira Exceed, because anytime a card is banished face down, it triggers their effects that are not once per turn. Whether that means you're locking down an opponent's monster zone or spell trap zone, or you're taking the card that got banished and equipping it directly as a material to your Exceed monster, Lightforce Sword is going to probably be seeing some play moving in the future. Since we saw a Pointer of the Red Lotus get hit to 1, Lightforce Sword kind of, now you can't see the opponent's hand, but again, if you're playing in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, you can kind of know when to snipe a card out of their opponent's hand when they're about to be out of their resources, or when they thought they baited all your Omni negates and they just got one card left. So you hit it out of their hand, then trigger all your Kashtira effects. And when we were discussing this card at some point in time a while ago, it has been a minute, but the cards were cheap, okay? And they were sitting at about 50 cents a piece. And then people caught on and they have spiked, okay? Right now we're seeing $10 a piece for Lightforce Sword. And now keep in mind, some of these, some that have actually been sold as well for about $10, are unlimiteds, okay? So we see a few first eds at the bottom, but that's like 3. And keep in mind, this super rare version of Lightforce Sword is from Legendary Collection Yugi's World, okay? So that's been quite some time. If you haven't or weren't playing back then, you might actually not even known this card came as a super rare. So unless you bought that $20 box of cards, you weren't even, or your friends were, and you traded it off them, you're not getting the Lightforce Sword. So it's been quite some time, and again, that's why we're actually seeing the price of the super rare go up to about $10. Now, if you are a budget player, do not fear. There is a plethora of other ones that you can actually pick up, okay? And just keep in mind, they are all very cheap. The only one that is this expensive for good reason is the super rare from Legendary Collection, okay? So if you've been following the channel and we were kind of watching any bit of the videos about Lightforce Sword we were doing and took it seriously, you are very happy you did, and I appreciate it, okay? So guys, that is just right there on the hard hitters that have it spiking and seeing some buyouts right now in the meta. and we're going to go over some that have been going up in price that we kind of covered over, but still might not be in their prime, okay? And that is to start off with things like Super Poly. Now I want to just say, now I said cards not in their prime. I have Super Poly Metaverse up here. I just want to give a little quick thing. Super Poly is expensive right now, and this is one we were talking about a while ago, okay? So if you don't, I wouldn't recommend going out and grabbing $10 common Super Polys, but if you've been following the channel for a while, you know we've been talking about Super Poly and how good this card has been for a bit. And at the time, I believe commons were about $3-4 a piece. Now commons are like $10 a piece. Like every version of Super Poly is super insane right now, okay? And if you've been watching for a while, you picked up when it was cheap, even got some ultis when they're cheap perhaps, you're looking really good. But right now, again, these are pretty up there. I mean, I even have a set of secrets I'm probably going to be trying to get rid of, honestly, but they do look good. All right, and that is Super Poly. Next up, I want to say with Super Poly that has gone up in price, and it's up to you whether or not you think that's a good price for it, but I think it's a little bit high, but for a good reason, is the Secret Rare Metaverse. And when we were discussing the Secret Rare Conspiracy, these were substantially lower, and it says $7 right there. I'm pretty sure we had like, perhaps they were a little lower, I'm not sure, but they are sitting at about $24 a piece now, and that is for Secret Rare Metaverses. So guys, if you've been grabbing any of those before they went up, very excited. Now for some of the cards that are kind of seeing a little increase, but they still have some potential to go, and that starts off right away with Gravity Collapse, okay? And Gravity Collapse is a counter trap that you can send one face-up synchro monster you control to the graveyard, negate the summon of an opponent's monster, and destroy it. Then your opponent cannot summon any monsters until the end phase of this turn. So not only do you prevent them from summoning monster, but you lock them out of summonings. Now keep in mind, this has to be an inherent summon that it negates, okay? So something like an Exceed, a Synchro, not something like Monster Reborn. All right, but being able to shut down the opponent's entire summoning turn is huge. We've seen that it has been going up in price right here. So right now they're about $250, $350 a piece. But if you look in the year timeline going back, I can tell you this card was actually over $10 a piece for the rares, okay? So now the fact that they're actually $2, $3 a piece, that's theoretically very affordable from where they can be and where they could go, especially knowing that Vsauce Starfrost is giving us some synchro support. So maybe in the future we can see Gravity Collapse go up even more. All right. Next up on the list is some Kashtira. We got Shangri-La as well as Kashtira Birth. When we were talking about the Shangri-La, we were discussing it with Lightforce Sword. At the time, it was looking like, yep, it was about like 20 cents a piece. I think we could have even had a few more, a little lower than that with some direct sales. But now they have gone up to, it looks like, I mean, when you include shipping, that's $1.72, $1.75, okay? So that's a far stretch from just from when Shangri-La came out to where it is now. And just keep in mind, the Kashtira deck isn't actually out yet, so there are plenty of players who don't even know that they want this card yet. So there is a lot of room for growth as far as that single Exceed is. And then after that, we also discussed that there's Kashtira Birth. When we were first talking about this in one of our most recent market watches, they were about 28 cents, a little lower than 30 cents. And they have just kind of been going up from like through the 50s, 60s, 70s. And now we're at, it's looking about 84 cents, 89 cents. And again, you got that dollar shipping. And if you only buy one, that's $1.80 per card. So that adds up real quick considering it's a super out of one of the recent packs. And I think both the Birth as well as Shangri-La, especially considering that Kashtira is about to drop very big in the TCG, grab them while you can now. Now, Kashtira Unicorn, I want to say we haven't talked much about this on the channel yet. And it has just seen an insane increase from when it came out, because it really wasn't, it was kind of undervalued at first. Everyone's going for the Fenrir. They didn't think they wanted the Unicorn. But as support has come out and people have tested it, we've seen it increase from $7 all the way up to $22. So And then there was a leak. It looked like an ultimate rare unicorn coming out of an OTS pack, and we've seen a lot of those leaks actually become verifiable. So I think we saw people kind of get scared out of buying them for so high. But again, assuming that Kashtira hits as much in the TCG as it did in the OCG, where they literally had to ban everything, a $21 unicorn might sound expensive, but it might not be that bad going into the future. I'm gonna let you guys make your decision on that, okay? And last but not least, I just want to say we got number 89. Diablos is the Mind Hacker, okay? An amazing card, really cool card, and one of the boss monsters in the Kashtira archetype that is coming out, kind of when they're secret boss monsters. It's essentially going to be hitting cards out of your opponent's extra deck, and then it matches the cards that are banished face down by banishing more cards off the top of your opponent's deck face down, okay? And that is insane. So we're going to be seeing a ton of Kashtira decks going right into the Diablos, and I think we're also going to see the price of Diablos going up as well. Now, that being said, they're about $4 to $5 a piece for Diablos, and that might be like, okay, that's not that bad. But when you look overall, about over a year in time, these cards were less than $1, okay? And I'll be honest, I wasn't someone championing the Mind Hacker way back then. I wish I could have said like, hey man, I was telling you about this back in June as well. I kind of was on some other stuff. I wasn't like on this card. So we have seen it go from under $1 to $1.50 to about $3 something, and now we're up to $5. That being said, the only two versions are like championship series prize cards. So we've seen what happened with Chaos Emperor Dragon Pendulum, right? Like where that card went. So that like $4 or $5 for a Mind Hacker might not be too cheap, might not be too expensive, especially in the future. And if they go up, which I think they will go up, I think that $3-4 prize mark will be looking pretty good. But again, guys, if you were able to pick it up for that $1 or less than $2 even, you're looking real good, okay? All right, everyone, and that is the little market watch we're doing today, and kind of the hype meta buyout that we've been talking about and been seeing, and some of the cards that we have actually been covering here for several months, including things like Lightforce Sword. And if you've been hanging out or you keep seeing my face again, I really do ask, please do subscribe to the YouTubes. We've been trying to get all the numbers up, get that monetary system going. That will help out a lot. We also have a Twitter. We do have a Twitch, but as always, you're seeing me on the YouTubes or on the Dueling Book. Stay safe, guys. We'll see you next time with another market watch that will be for cards that will be good stocks. Have a great night. Suck it, nerds.